In the vast, endless stretches of the Orion Arm, the galaxy turned as it always had, an endless dance of stars, empires, and wars. The balance of power had existed for millennia. The strong ruled, the weak submitted. The cycle was as old as time itself. And then came humanity. They were latecomers to the stars. Fragile bipeds from a backwater Class G star system called Sol. By galactic standards, humans were nothing special. Their ships were smaller. Their weapons were primitive. Their technology lagged generations behind the major powers of the galaxy. Or so the galaxy believed. The mighty Zarkith Dominion, an empire of towering insectoid warlords, was the first to truly notice the humans. But not because of their strength. Because of their refusal to bow, the Zarkith had subjugated hundreds of worlds through fear, overwhelming firepower, and relentless oppression. Their fleets were monstrous, biological hybrid constructs, capable of self-repair, interstellar jumps without gates, and weapons that could flay the atmosphere from a planet. When the Zarkith encountered humans, they expected submission. They demanded tribute, planetary rights, and control over the Terran colonies. Humanity responded with laughter. It started with minor skirmishes. A single Terran cargo convoy refused to pay Zarkith tolls. A destroyer-class human vessel, laughably small compared to Zarkith dreadnoughts, intercepted the pirates, and in a battle that lasted less than 6 minutes, the Terran ship erased the attackers. Not disabled. Not driven off, erased, Zarkith commanders were baffled. Their ships were superior in armor, firepower, and shields. Yet somehow Terran railguns, simple, ancient kinetic weapons, penetrated their organic hulls as if they were paper. Worse. The Terran ship didn't even use its primary weapons. Just secondary batteries. The Zarkith demanded answers. Their analysts scoured the data. What they found was disturbing. Human projectile weapons traveled faster than expected, using advanced mass driver technology with zero-point recoil dampening. Their guided targeting systems predicted movement patterns with frightening accuracy. Worse still, human ships weren't designed to tank damage. They were designed to never be hit. Every human vessel carried adaptive cloaking, predictive maneuvering algorithms, and micro-warp blink drives that made them flicker in and out of combat range like ghosts. The galaxy had never fought an enemy like this. Still, the Zarkith were arrogant. A fluke, their high warlord hissed across the comms. A lucky trick by soft-world primitives. They dispatched a full battle group, 8 dreadnoughts, 16 cruisers, and hundreds of fighter swarms, to seize the Terran colony of Dawnreach as punishment. When they arrived, the colony was dark, no transmissions, no defenses detected. As the Zarkith fleet approached orbit, something strange happened. Their sensors went blind. Navigation drifted by 0.02 degrees. Then 0.2. Then 2.0, a fatal error at orbital velocities. Comms collapsed. And then space itself tore open, not from weapons. But from mined singularity bombs, miniature black holes that detonated along calculated vectors. Zarkith dreadnoughts folded inward like crumpled paper, their hulls screeching as gravity shredded them into nothingness. Within 42 seconds, the entire fleet ceased to exist. Galactic media exploded. Live feeds, recorded footage, black box data, all streamed across the Orion network. Billions watched in horror as the arrogant Zarkith fleet was reduced to nothing. By a species the galaxy had mocked for centuries, the message from Terran Command followed every broadcast. Simple, cold, unambiguous. You thought we were weak. You thought wrong. The Zarkith High Council convened in a panic for the first time in 9,000 cycles. Their analysts, generals, and elder minds all agreed on one terrifying conclusion. We don't understand humans. They fought differently. They built differently. They thought differently. Where the galaxy valued raw power, humanity valued efficiency, adaptability, unpredictability. No one else used asymmetric warfare on this scale. No one else weaponized information, AI deception, stealth, and orbital mechanics the way humans did. The Zarkith were an empire of brute force. Humanity was an empire of calculated violence. The Zarkith doubled down. They declared full-scale war on the Terran Federation. Every fleet mobilized, every war factory ignited. They weren't just going to conquer Earth. They were going to erase it, but as their armada surged through the jump lanes, they found the exits blocked because humanity had hacked the Galactic jump network. Entire starlands collapsed. Wormhole gates inverted, spitting ships back out at random coordinates or worse, into the gravity wells of dead stars. Those who made it through found human space, no fleets in orbit. No planetary shields active. No resistance, and then the signals began. A single AI voice echoed into every Zarkith ship. Every screen, every command deck, you should have left us alone. It was then they noticed the objects drifting near their ships, innocuous at first, small, barely the size of a cargo pod, until they ignited. MP graviton spikes. Radiation scramblers. Hull leading NNITs S. In under 4 minutes, the invasion fleet dissolved. Literally, ships melted. Crew disintegrated. Biological components liquefied. The Zarkith realized too late that they hadn't walked into a war. They walked into a trap. A perfectly calculated, ruthlessly executed trap. Humanity hadn't met them in space. Because humanity wasn't defending. They were hunting. The Zarkith Dominion had ruled by fear for 9,000 years. Worlds trembled under their shadow, their fleets eclipsed suns. Their war machines turned continents into ash. But now, their empire was dying. And humanity wasn't just ending their rule. They were rewriting the laws of power. The counteroffensive didn't start with fleets. It started with silence. Across Zarkith space, systems went dark. Communications failed. Supply convoys vanished mid-jump. Critical nodes, fuel refineries, fabrication hubs, data nexuses, simply stopped existing. No explosions, no battles. No warning, gone, erased, deleted. The Zarkith High warlords scrambled. They mobilized their Titan dreadnoughts, ships the size of moons. Entire fleets surged toward the Terran border, but when they arrived, the border was gone. Star systems that existed days before were missing. Graviton collapse detected. Stellar cartography error, cannot locate target. Humanity had triggered a stellar collapse event, using directed graviton lenses to slingshot unstable stars into premature supernova. Systems that were once border defense points were now black holes, expanding radiation fields, and clouds of stellar debris. The border no longer existed because humanity had erased it. Then came the blackout offensive, Terran shadow fleets, vessels running dark matter cloaks, zero-point drives, and AI-predicted warp jumps materialized inside core Zarkith systems. Industrial hubs, gone. Military depots, gone. Weapon research stations, vaporized. Planetary defense grids, offline. Not a single Terran soldier set foot on the ground. It was a war fought in orbit. In the code, in the stars themselves. Humanity didn't fight fair. They didn't fight clean. They fought to end. On the slave world Karths 4, Zarkith overseers watched in horror as their orbital defense grid turned against them. Terranites hijacked the satellites, dropping their payloads, not on the cities, but directly on military command centers. Then, to the astonishment of the enslaved populations, Terran supply pods descended. Inside were weapons, food, medical supplies, portable shield generators. And a simple message in every language. This is your fight now. Rise. Across dozens of slave worlds, the chains of the Zarkith broke, not by human hands, but by the hands of those who had suffered under the Empire for generations. Back on Zarkith Prime, the capital world, panic was absolute. For the first time in their history, the home fleet failed to respond. Sensors picked up strange anomalies, gravitational distortions, time lag echoes, quantum interference. And then the sky, the very fabric of space, ripped open. Outstepped the Terran Leviathan fleet, massive ships the size of cities. Hulls layered with adaptive metamaterials that bent reality itself. Weapons glowing with blue-white fire. Gravitational hammers, antimatter lances, dark energy torpedoes. Every dreadnought bore the same emblem, a simple silhouette of Earth, encircled in red with a phrase beneath, "We warned you." Zarkith Planetary Defense AI initialized operation. Extinction pulse. A last-ditch failsafe meant to ignite the planet's core and deny humanity a victory. It failed. Terran Counter A's had already rewritten the code. The detonation signal simply triggered the release of every military database, financial record, slave ledger, and war crime archive to the entire galaxy. The truth will destroy you faster than we ever could. As the Terran Leviathan fleet descended, they didn't fire on civilian centers. They didn't bombard cities. Instead, they targeted the Council Spire, the towering symbol of Zarketh power, broadcasting the execution of every high warlord lived to the galaxy. This is what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness. The galactic audience, billions of species, millions of worlds, watched, stunned. As the so-called apex predators of the galaxy were reduced to ash, their empire dismantled piece by piece. Piracy rates fell to zero. Border wars ceased overnight. Long-standing rivalries evaporated as every species reconsidered their future, because humanity wasn't just punishing the Zarketh. They were teaching the entire galaxy a lesson. The final blow came not with a weapon, but with an idea. Humanity deployed a neural silence array, a device capable of deleting the very concept of the Zarketh Empire from the galactic mesh. Number. Trade, no diplomacy, no recognition. To the galaxy, the Zarketh didn't just fall. They ceased to exist. The war wasn't over because humanity won. It was over because there was nothing left to resist. The Zarketh dominion, an empire that had ruled for 9 millennia, was no more. Not surrendered, not negotiated, not even conquered, obliterated. Their worlds freed, their fleets, scattered debris, their name deleted from the galactic archives. And yet, humanity didn't claim a single inch of Zarketh space. No colonies raised the Terran flag, no governors installed, no resource rights extracted. Instead, every liberated world received a single transmission: you are free. What you build next is up to you. For the first time in the galaxy's known history, an empire fell without being replaced by another, and that terrified everyone more than the war itself, because now the galaxy had to face a truth that echoed louder than any weapon. Humans don't conquer. They don't enslave, they don't rule, they eliminate threats, then they leave. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Hundreds of species, thousands of representatives, all trying to answer the same desperate question. What happens if humanity ever decides to not to leave? No one had an answer because the lesson was simple, brutal, eternal. Earth's mercy is infinite. Until it isn't. The aftershocks of the war spread faster than any fleet ever had. Pirate syndicates disbanded overnight. Warlords burned their own arsenals. Slave markets were emptied not by force but by their owners fleeing in terror of being next. The galaxy reorganized itself not because of treaties, but because of the shadow of Terran judgment. The Terran fleets, they didn't return home. Instead, they became sentinels. One Leviathan-class dreadnought stationed at every major hyperlane. Shadow fleets patrolling the border of every empire, not to control, but to watch. A single message broadcast on every frequency, every day, in every language: behave. And, beneath it, we are watching. On Earth, there were no parades, no victory celebrations, no monuments built to the destruction of the Zarketh. Instead, new memorials rose to the fallen of Dawnreach, the colony whose loss began it all, in memory of those who fell, and as a warning to those who made it necessary. Centuries passed. Children were born on worlds that had once been enslaved, free now, because a distant blue planet of Primedes had decided that enough was enough. In schools across the galaxy, a new subject became mandatory: Terran history. Students were shown the images, the annihilation of Zarketh Prime, the shattered fleets orbiting dead stars. The moment when the galactic map was redrawn, not with new borders, but with blank spaces where tyrants once ruled. And always the final slide in the lesson was the same: a simple Terran transmission file, black screen, white letters. You thought we were weak? You thought wrong? But the lesson went deeper than fear. human diplomats became the most sought-after mediators in the galaxy. Terran scientists shared technology, not weapons, but cures, clean energy, terraforming techniques, because the galaxy now understood something humanity had known all along. Strength means nothing without purpose, and humanity's purpose wasn't conquest. It was to make sure no one else suffered the way they did. The final archive entry, logged by an alien historian centuries later, simply read, "The stars are quieter now, not because war is impossible, but because we finally remember why it should be."